morning, sim racing fans, and welcome to the Daytona International Speedway for the iSuperDUEL at Daytona. Starting to get in through Daytona Speed Week for the iSuperspeedway.com Racing Series Season 6 Championship. And officially, we get underway next Friday as we go racing for the official season opener in the iSuperspeedway.com 500. Time to set the grid for the biggest race on the year, though, and duel number 1 at the World Center of Racing, coming live to you next on LSRTV and iRacing Live. I want to welcome you topside back to part 2 of our Friday night sim racing doubleheader. Evan Posoko alongside Andy Kessler still with you topside. Josh Ball, Jared Haggerty as well, hanging out in the broadcast booth, and still down in the production trailer is LSRTV's producer Cisco Scaramuza. Andy, exciting stuff to get tonight's doubleheader underway. We saw a great truck race at Atlanta. The main event, though, is here tonight. The shootout, as of 1 week ago, tentatively got this season 6 campaign underway. Tonight we set the grid for the single biggest race on the season in the iSuperspeedway 500. 2 duels at 40 laps apiece at 100 miles, and duel 1 getting set to take to the grid.
Yeah, 2 duels, 45, 47 cars, something along there that are battling for 43 spots. So it's awesome. Someone's feelings at the end of the night are going to be hurt, Evan, and they're not going to be able to make it into the big show, but they got 40 laps to prove themselves, to get themselves up in the front, get themselves a top 10, top 15 finish so that they can assure themselves to start in next week's race. But we got to do it one race at a time, starting with this first one here.
And the qualifying session draws to a close. It is a single lap qualifying close car session. It is now done with, and we're set, as we mentioned, 40 laps for 100 miles. We'll reset the grid, bring the other 25 or so drivers out, do it again, and we'll restart and set the inside row and then the outside row for the iSuperspeedway 500. Let's take a look trackside, though. We'll rack them and stack them, and we'll take a look at the starting grid for iSuperDUEL at Daytona, number 1. Pole position, how about the Roush performance for Jeff Figlin, the 49, 358. Gonna put him on the top spot for duel number 1, and he'll be joined on the front row by the number 31, Kenny Holderman. Jason Oatman's going to be on the inside to row 2. The Geek Squad, a forward in third. Josh Hanner alongside in the number 4 spot, piloting now the number 10 machine, and rounding out our top 5 qualifiers, the number 1 driver in practice, the 19 of David Anderson.
Matt Quick in the 89 is going to roll off in that 6th spot. 7th goes to Brandon Monsivais. 8th spot goes to Chris Bassini. 9th will be Seth the Merchant. And rounding out tonight's top 10 will be the 20th, Derek Walker.
Alex Halloran starts P11. Chad Keene. Ramon Evans, 13th. Ryan Keith, 14th. And rookie Keegan Leahy starts number P15.
The 55 of Ben Niles is going to roll off 16th. 94 champion, or season 2 champion, is going to roll off 17th. That's Frank Buciello, the 3rd. 13 of Kelly Dahl is going to roll off 18th. 19th is Tad Granger. That's a rookie. And the number 41 of Ryan Pollan is going to round out your top 20.
And then 3 more drivers to round out the field. You got the Star Wars entry in 21st. That's Glenn Hedrick. Mark Emery, 22nd and 23rd. The 088 Chevrolet, Kent Connolly. So a lot of familiar names, quite a few new names interjected into the mix. Before we do get tonight's race underway, I want to toss it to our driver analysts real quick, guys. First, Josh and then Jared as well. You guys are going to be in a duel later on tonight. So before duel number 1 gets underway, what do you think is going to be a key thing?
A lot of these new rookies out here, we got one starting P2. You know, it's definitely going to be interesting in getting around them, see how they form up to the league. You know, it's a little bit different than going out and doing a Carb Cup or A-Class race. So we'll see how everything goes, and I think that's going to be the biggest thing, avoiding any wrecks and trying to make it to the finish.
Yeah, the big thing here is just going to be being able to bide your time as best you can. I mean, you got to get to that top 15 the right time. You got to make it to the end, first of all. And Evan, they're coming to the start here. Why don't you take us to the green here?
We are ready to get duel number 1 underway. 23 drivers selected to Let's get this race underway with us. Matt Quick, though, scheduled to start P6, has received a throughput fault to an unacceptable level. He will not make the start of duel number 1. We'll have 22 drivers take the green. We're happy to have you with us at LSRTV at iRacing Live across the start-finish line. Green flag in the air, racing at Daytona for Duel 1 tonight at LSRTV. Lap 1 of 40 in the works. And although it's still a pretty large pack with 22 drivers in this duel, there's a lot more room than what we'll see next Friday and every Friday from there on out. When we're talking about fields of 40-plus drivers every single week, they got a little bit of room to move under the lights here at the World Center of Racing. Out in front of the field, Jeff Figlin took the green flag from the pole. He led all the way through 1 and 2. Nose advantage to the outside for the Whelen Chevy, and that is Kenny Holderman giving him a fight, but the inside advantage pulls back strong to turn 3.
Yeah, so far we've got pretty good numbers for both lanes right now. You'll see the 31 try to get the advantage off of turn number 4. It looks like Figlin's going to actually lead our first lap here under the first duel right now. The 10 of Josh Hanner, he's trying to give that rookie a push, and why not have a wily veteran like that giving you the shove early on in this race? That's a lot of help he's got right behind him there in that 10 car.
Yeah, he definitely does. And Chris Bassini on the outside, pushing up there to the front. He's also got teammate Derek Walker right behind him. That outside has definitely got a run here. Is Kenny Holderman going to take the bottom? He is cleared. Yes, he does. Down to the inside in front of Jeff Figlin. Outside's breaking up a little bit now. It's going to have a little bit of hard time getting a run, but should be able to get back together here shortly. Has a big run, actually, off of 4.
And as we saw
it's a rookie in front in turn 4 with that 31 of Kenny Holderman, but he's not going to be able to hang on at the start-finish line. Josh Hanner, new number, the number 10 for Diffusion Andy, as we mentioned, at the grid outside of the racetrack. Jumps back topside. He's got Chris Bassini working with him, and he's got that 20 of Derek Walker as well. So those are a couple of veterans topside. The rookie on the inside's got Jeff Figlin behind him. It's a new start. Again, although there is no offseason in this series, we mentioned it a little bit about the momentum parts during our Truck Series broadcast earlier on. It's a new season. We start points racing next week at 500. The duel's very important, stepping towards that as well. It's a new season, though. A couple of guys up here that are looking to redeem themselves from not really the best season 5 that they wanted, trying to get off on the right foot tonight. One driver that I think of right away when we mention that is that 38 of Jeff Figlin. He falls to 5th at the start-finish line as lap 3 draws to the books, but he's in a decent spot, and now Hanner drops down to the inside lane, takes over the race lead. Chris Bassini now leads the outside.
Yeah, Chris Bassini able to take that outside lane now, and he's got the 20 of Derek Walker now behind him. Another name looking for a big and better season this time around for that number 20, and changing numbers all around. He was the 07 last season. He finds himself in that 20 car now. Hanner, though, able to keep enough distance on that inside, pull up side by side with Bassini. Not going to allow that one car to drop down in front of him. He will lead this lap, though. Chris Bassini's going to lead lap number 4.
Yeah, but you got to remember, these guys on the outside, they showed a lot of promise last week in the duels. And they're actually going to drop down here. Chris Bassini and Derek Walker, those two are teammates, a newly formed team. Actually, they are the biggest team right now in all of iSuper Speedway, Dark Horse Incorporated. And those guys are actually showing their muscles. We got a car on the wall coming out, too. Who is that, Evan?
We're taking a look, slow down the backstretch, really. It looks like it is going to be Keegan Leahy's number 72 machine with some damage up against the wall in turn number 2. Got a little bit loose in a 3-wide situation with Frank Waselia. The 72 roughed up a little bit, going to cause enough damage to drop Leahy. Now outside of that lead pack, and maybe down pit road for service. Not yet. The 72 going to tough it out and stay out there, but definitely with the damage on top of the fact that you're now disconnected from the lead pack, you can forget about staying competitive for the time being. Still 35 laps to go at Daytona. Caution flag's a big part of the way these restrictor plate races tend to play out. So far, still green at the front of the field. And Hanner, who had just dropped down to the inside a couple of laps ago, he's back topside because Bassini took over the race lead, and now Hanner wants to get it right back. And that 9 machine of Chad Keene has been the second driver in line on the outside for quite some time now. He's the one giving the assist out.
He is giving an assist, and right behind those guys are defending Cup Series champion Seth the Merchant right there in the mix of it. He drops actually to the bottom side now, right behind Derek Walker. So the numbers for the top side starting to dwindle now as we work these laps. Oh, we have contact. Jason Altman's makes contact with 31
in the
back up
field.
into the
That
track.
big one.
Big wreck.
And that's Anderson who goes back end first, up in front of the field. Early caution at lap number 7. They'll spin to a stop, and it was contact up by, as we mentioned, the 31 of Kenny Holderman. You're going to take a second look at a moment on the LSRTV replay. Up the bottom, Jason Oatman's not really a lane there, but not really not a lane there. Just kind of cut it close. He hooked that 31 down into the grass. And Holderman, by the way, did a very good job of holding it down as long as he could. But that truck is, or rather, the car's not going to turn down on the grass in the middle of the corner, and what happens is that 31 machine can't rotate, and he slides back up, and he gets that 19 in the left rear, and it is heavy contact for the 55, the 19, the 94, the 64, the 13, another one of the drivers that involved in that accident. Big junk, a good way to summarize it early at Daytona.
Yeah, Evan. And that was just, it was the big one, that's for sure. You know, that takes out probably more than close to half the field with damage now, and no quick repairs. And the series now, unless you're in the enduro races, is definitely going to be unfortunate for some of those guys. Might not make the Daytona 500 next weekend, next Friday night. So unlucky start of events here. Only 8 laps into this 40-lap event. You got to be, unfortunately, you got to feel bad for a couple of those guys. You know, don't have a chance of getting in any other way. 19 to David Anderson, or the 31. No points last season, so it's going to be a tough road ahead of them.
The early caution flag can open up the pit road as an option. We come at a turn number 4. Chris Spacini rides the double yellow line, and it looks like your leader is going to be coming down pit side for service. 40 laps is the number that you can make it, especially with the help of a caution flag. But I think really here, guys coming down to the pit lane, just trying to make sure they have a little bit of insurance going forward.
Yeah, 32 laps is
for
mainly the max you're going to be able to run here, green flags. So they're right on the bubble of where they can make it on a green flag run. And if they do, I mean, that's going to be really good, as everybody looks like they got into their pits okay. Right now you got the number 1 of Chris Pacini just pulling out of his pit. He's going to make it off. And the 24 of Ryan Keese is actually going to make it off second. He got a great pit stop, Evan.
He does, and he'll be able to get out in good standing. Pacini in front of it all. It looks like Matt Quick stays out, and Mark Emery stays out as well. And the Ford EcoBoost Ford Fusion going to take over the race lead at lap number 9. Would not be surprised if the 11 machine does elect to come down pit road, Andy, and be serviced. But if not, could be a worthwhile gamble for the driver that was running in 22nd and won't be able to fall back on any provisionals. He has to make it in by his finish.
Yeah, he does, and for some of these guys, it's probably not a bad call to stay up front like this. And you know, as long as they save some fuel, they should be all right to make it to the end. Although sitting up front, you tend to burn a lot more fuel not being in the draft, so he's going to have to be careful with that aspect also. So I highly doubt he'll probably come in. He's probably expecting another caution, which I would not be surprised if we had one of those either. So if that was the case, then you'd see him probably come down pit road and top it off there at that point. But for now, deciding to take the track position for that 11, and also the 89, Matt Quick, actually able to get back out on the track there. I think he came out, it was about 7 laps or so down. That's where he scored right now in that 23rd spot, 7 laps down. So a couple other cars already have pulled it behind the wall. The 31 was one of them. So over the course of this race, he'll make up that position at least. But for Matt Quick, the only benefit for him is that he did race all last season, so he's got a lot of points. So this may not hurt him. He might be able to get in on a provisional.
Light still on the pace car, so we have a moment until we do go back to green flag racing. But in the meantime, we take a look at where everybody sits at the moment. Pretty large caution flag kicks 7 drivers off the lead lap. Leahy is the last driver on the lead lap over on pit road with heavy damage. Ben Nile, Basilia, you got Dahl, Anderson, Hallinar, Holderman, and Quick, the guys that have been involved in accidents so far. Mentioned Matt Quick, he received that throughput fall to an unacceptable level. He's trying to get some wave bys now, but he's 7 laps down. So he'd need a couple more yellows if you were to get all those back. Strategy-wise, though, we always talk about how you approach these plate track races, and we always mention that anywhere else you go to a plate track, you just try to get through the night, because that's all we do here on Friday nights here for the second part of our doubleheaders. You have to somehow come into this with a strategy. Josh, we talked about quick fixes. We talked about it in the truck series as well. It looks like that no quick fixes an option for tonight's duels, which would not be the case during the regular season races. So that, on top of the fact that you have to get inside of the top 15 if you want to consider yourself safe to be locked into the race, does change up the aspects of this race a little bit.
Yeah, and you got to be a little conservative out there. Not a lot for the guys that have been in the league, finished top 10 last season. You don't really need to worry about it if you're there. But some of these new guys, as you just said, Mark Emery, sitting P1 right now, that might be the best strategy call he can go with at this point, because there is 15 cars left on the track right now. So even if he finishes at the back, that's 15 positions that we're going to transfer in. I don't think we have the official word from Race Control yet on how much each transfer from each duel, as you'll see Duel 2 later on tonight. But you got to think being 15th out of 23 is definitely better than finishing 20th. So, good job on his part so far. Good strategy. Mark Emery up there, rookie, that hopefully will make his way into the Daytona 500.
It's a big moment for all of the rookies here tonight at Daytona. For the seasoned veterans, it's just another step en route to fighting for the championship. We've done 5 seasons now of iSuperSpeedway.com Racing Series action. Under the ISS.com banner, we have seen 5 different champions, just like we've seen 2 different winners so far in the Rod Car Truck Tour. So the talent is immense on Friday nights. I encourage you to go to iSuperSpeedway.com, find out more information on how you can get involved for future seasons. But we got a core group, we got a lot of fresh rookies. We're looking forward to it. It almost reminds me of the conversation, Andy, that we had about RSR at the beginning of 2015 on Monday nights with the Full Throttle Cup Series. How many rookies came into that series, and how by halfway through the season they were just part of the group and part of the core group that we see inside the top 10 almost every single week. I have a feeling if the rookies that are showing a good performance so far here tonight can keep this up, albeit it's just the duels in speed weeks, but I'm liking what I'm seeing so far, so they look forward to being a good season.
That it definitely does, and we're going to have a few more rookies, obviously, in the second duel also. So lots of action, lots of new guys, lots of new faces, and pace cars off, and we're back to green flag racing, and Mark Emery going to lead the field through the green flag. Top side, though, Chris Passini able to hang on. He's got Jason Altman's giving him a push, and the 15 of Tad Granger, another rookie right there in the top 10. So a few of them still left in this race right now. Passini, though, with the edge right now, with Jason Altman's pushing him off, too.
Yeah, these guys are going down the backstretch right now. You got Passini there getting a little bit of a nose, but Mark Emery still holding there strong on the inside. He's got some pretty good help. Number 24, Ryan Keese. He is now a seasoned veteran, I guess you're going to call it, after coming in last season. That's a member of JR Motorsports, and we're actually seeing a lot of teams actually broken up here, and you haven't really seen much of teams other than the number 1 and the number 20 there fight together all night. So these teams aren't really coming into a play, Evan. What do you think of that?
Well, we know that the teams, they like to work with each other, and in a case like this, I figured the duel would be a perfect opportunity to see a lot of the teams working together. But again, because you've split everybody up into basically 2 heats, you're taking away almost half your teammates like that, and you gotta go. You can't really hang back and try to work on something. You got to cover your own 6 first. And we're seeing that up front because the one machine has been up front all night long. It's Chris Passini, started 8th, has not taken long to get out to that outside lane, and he likes it up there. He likes to be racy. If somebody gets in front of him, he jumps right back up top side. He doesn't sit around a lot. You talk about big movers, though. We mentioned Mark Emery stays out for the race lead. He was saving fuel that whole time under the caution flag, trying to be able to make it to the end of this 40-lap race now, 14 laps in, and he's not going to be coming down for fuel, I wouldn't imagine, from this point on. Otherwise, he'd put himself well further back than he would have been if he pitted under this yellow. He's in front. He's past 21 positions to get to where he is. Under green, though, the 24, Ryan Keese, has gone 14th to 3rd, one of our biggest movers so far. He's impressing me early.
He is impressing me also too, Evan, and giving the rookie a good push right now. Typically, you don't see guys really stick to a rookie's bumper and give him a lot of help, but I think the 11, Mark Emery's definitely shown here over the last few laps here on this restart that he can hold his line, and that's one of the biggest things for these guys at a super speedway racetrack. Is Jason Altman's there going all over the place just behind him, but it's one of those things is, can that guy hold a line? Can he stick right there? And so far the 11's doing that, and I think Ryan Keese notices that as that bottom side now is really starting to single filed out right now. Top 6, 7 guys now. It's only up back till you get to the 41 of Ryan Pilot that you have an outside lane, and he's got a big help right now with the 32 of Seth the Merchant.
The Merchant going to be a good helping hand nonetheless, but out the outside, it looks like that 20 machine, Josh, kind of fighting on his own. No help with Derek Walker. He'll get some support now, but he started to pinch guys down, and we were getting kind of close when you start doing that.
Yeah, he's got his teammate right behind him now, Chris Bassini, helping him out. He also's got Ryan Pilot. Looks like jumping up to the top also is the number 24 of Ryan Keese, looking to go for the lead here around Mark Emery. Going to have a run off of turn 2. I don't know if he's going to be able to get it done, but they're definitely going to be battling down the back straightaway.
So they battle down the backstretch, they do, but it is a big run for Keese. He'll get clear. Does he take advantage of it? Drops down, yes sir. New race leader at lap number 16, Ryan Keese's number 24 Ford. Now out in front of the field, and that leaves Derek Walker as the lead driver. Topside again, the Crown Royal Chevrolet hasn't had the opportunity to compete full-time like he has wanted to the last couple of seasons. Wants to get a good showing here at Daytona for Speed Weeks, and he's doing a good job on the outside. You see that 11, though, jumps up, takes the lead roll away. Nobody wants to sit around and lead the outside lane for a long time. That 20 machine, he wants the one to push him through on by. Problem is, if the outside is open and your name's not the 24 Ryan Keese, the driver in the lead, you're taking that spot, which is why I mentioned it was Passini in the stint before this, and now it's that 20 of Walker where you're on the outside, but you can't get an opportunity of your own. You're given the assists all night long. The big run by the 11 was only good enough to get about half a car length advantage, not enough to drop down and get clear. So Mark Emery going to fall back at a side-by-side fight for second with the 10 and Josh Hanner. Still got the push from the 20, but the one slowly starting to fall off as this lead pack kind of separates a little bit amongst the top 4, top 5. No support topside, and with that, they jump ship and leave Mark Emery out to dry.
Yeah, it looked like Derek Walker right there wasn't happy with how the 11 came up right in front of him, and when he had the opportunity, he jumped down the bottom, left that 11 out to dry on the high side. That's those veterans ganging up on the rookies right there, leaving them outside, making them learn a lesson, I would say. He's able to drop back in line right now, currently running in that 6th spot. He's got Ryan Pilot right now on his back bumper. A little bit of separation right now, top 5 of about a 2-car length difference right now, but that gap's closing as here comes Mark Emery now with the help of Ryan Pilot. We got Seth the Merchant right behind him. Figlin, our pole sitter, he's in the mix also. Now they leave the 11 back out on the outside all by himself again.
That is the disadvantage of being a rookie and with no team. As you can see now, the team, oh, they're almost getting through. Oh, Kelly Dahl, 4 wide. They had to avoid the 13. Kelly Dahl was slow there, didn't move out of the way. That was a huge moment. They almost got their 4 wide. Frank Basilia, all this lap traffic now is, they're having to get through. This is the biggest action we had in a while. But going back to what I was saying, the reason why they were leaving Mark Emery out in the first place was that he's not on a team. You've got 2 teams up there, actually 3 teams. You've got the 24 and the 10, the JR Motorsports, and the 20 and the 1 of Dark Horse. And then you got the 51 up there who's on a single car team who can go with anybody. So, but right now, goodness gracious, Evan, that was close.
Yeah, and I think they might have to change their fire suits after that, but they're still in one piece. That's good news. They're still battling, but it kind of shuffled up running order a little bit because the 24 now on the bottom, and it's a 10 of Josh Hanner. He gets a push by the 20 of Derek Walker again, and now the 10 car. Going to go back to the race lead. The 20 and the 1 still can't get help from behind. They are the help. They want that 9. Get Chad Keen up on the bumper. Get some more company. We'll split another piece of lap traffic and go 3 wide once again, but they need some more support to get themselves up and away. I think 3, the magic number, because there's 3 on the bottom. We need to have at least that many cars on the outside to contend. The outside is a very viable line on this draft build with this setup that we're working with, but you need the support. If you have the numbers, the outside, you could argue, almost a better place to be.
Yeah, the outside lane, you actually get that extra lane of room on the top side. So I much rather prefer, if I was out there, to be in that middle lane like these guys are, that outside lane. It gives you a little bit more of a breathing room, I would say. When you're on the bottom, you got that yellow line. You can't go below it to make a pass. And then you got cars typically on your outside, so that makes it a little tough also, too. You just have nowhere to go. The good thing in that is, though, is you got the protection of that bottom line. Nobody can actually get around you, as the second group actually now was able to close back in on these guys, led by the 41 of Ryan Pilon, and now they got themselves a pretty good battle right now, about 10 cars. It looks like going to battle this thing out here as we wind down the laps.
Yeah, talk about it there, Andy. Here comes that 41 of Ryan Pilon. That is the best thing that Jason Altmans can see in his rearview mirror, as they are satellite teammates, so he's definitely looking for some help with that 10 and 24, basically blocking the track in front of him. 20 and 1 are definitely going to work together, try to get up there with Dark Horse Motorsports. So now we got about a 10-car battle, 9-car battle for the top spot. It's pretty much a breakaway. Those guys, I think we have enough fuel to go to the end at this point, so we got about 17 laps to go. Unless there's a big pack behind them that's going to be able to catch them, it's probably going to be down to these 9 to see who wins.
A little bit more lap traffic on the outside of the racetrack, no problem, though. Daytona is a little bit tighter than Talladega, but there is still plenty of room for these guys to squeeze through 3 wide. We're starting to group back up, though, at the front. We talked about the accident so far. Believe it or not, we're down to just 14 drivers on the lead lap, and now past halfway at Daytona, with 10 drivers still in the lead pack. They go Josh Hader, Ryan Keese, Chris Basidi, Jason Oatmans, and Derek Walker, and then Ryan Pilon, Chad Keene, Jeff Figlin, Seth DeBurchett, and Mark Emery. Top 10 within 0.4 of a second of each other. They are the lead draft. Glenn Hedrick, Ken Connolly, Brandon Cruz, Montsevice through 13th, or 13 seconds back. And it looks like Tad Granger going to be falling off the lead lap here soon. We may see that 15 drop it off very shortly because he's by himself at 14th. So you got 10 drivers in this conversation. They're all in one major pack. Again, we keep saying it, and we always say it in the B-mains. Right now, you're good. But you don't look at the duel specifically as a race to just qualify for the 500, because yes, in this race, the better you finish, the better you start. You do have that little bit of an extra incentive. They're not going to race like they're good. We've said it many a time, although sometimes they might in their best interest maybe to do so. They're going to be going at it. The duel, surprisingly enough, Andy, seems to be one of the more exciting races that you see on the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series schedule. And it translates over to here as well, because these guys feel like with the lesser amount of cars early in the season, everybody wants to make a statement. Winning the duel is a good statement to say that you mean business going into the championship. Sometimes that hurts these guys. So when we have 10 drivers like this packed together at the front of the field, it concerns me because there's still a big risk there. And we're going to start to see now with 15 laps to go, guys on the top side stop giving as much leeway. They're going to start pinching down closer to the bottom of the racetrack, and that's when things can get dicey really quickly.
Yeah, it's definitely where it can be, and we'll probably see that in that second duel a little bit more, because one of those drivers that loves the side drafts in that one, the 3 of Brandon Chaverko, we always see him push the issue. We've seen him in the past having run that outside lane all by himself and work his way up to the front, and that's using all the side draft, and that's pinching that guy down on that yellow line. Right now, though, the top 10 going to be single file, and word that I've had is that the 11 is short on fuel. You should be seeing him in the next probably 3 or 4 laps coming down pit road. The problem he's going to have is I don't think he's going to have any help.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're probably right there, Andy. Everybody else came down on that pit stop that is still out there in the lead pack. So, unfortunately, he's going to have to come down and surrender that lead pack. Unless a caution comes out, really, that is going to be his only saving grace at this point. As we look through the top 5 right now, we got 2 teammates up front. Jason Altman's there in P number 3, separated by him and his teammate there, Chris Bassini, with Pilon, and then right behind him, Derek Walker.
32 is on the outside. That's Seth the Merchant. He's trying to do it by himself. You can see how strong the side draft is. 1, 2, 3 cars and then jumping at a line. Ryan Pyland, you're going to want to hook up and work with him. We go on board with that Target Chevrolet as Seth the Merchant as your defending iSuperSpeedway.com Racing Series champion, and to the front they go. Look at the run, just now a battle inside the top 4, and with the momentum coming off of the corner, this looks like it could be served on a silver platter for Ryan Pyland. Can he get the run down the super stretch?
He's got a pretty good run, though. The problem is they're going to stall out once they get to the corner. Seth the Merchant, though, giving them a great push. Those guys were separated from this lead pack just moments ago, a couple laps ago, and now they find themselves battling for the lead side by side off of turn number 4. Hanner to the inside. He's got the help from Ryan Keese, but that outside lane is looking pretty strong with those 2 cars. Seth the Merchant and Ryan Pyland have been working great together all night long. They've been pretty much inseparable since the drop of the green flag.
Yeah, those guys are definitely looking good right now. My teammates on JR Motorsports are doing an excellent job, but that 32 is Seth the Merchant. Man, he impressed me. He went from 10th to 3rd just in 1.5 laps, and he's actually going to try to take 3rd right now, going into turn number 3 here, and they're still staying strong that outside. The outside's actually looking pretty good, but Seth the Merchant says, no, I'm going to drop back, and actually looks like he's going to fall back and going to let the 41 in here. Is 41 going to go down? Yes, he is. And we're coming up on 11 laps to go. Evan, I mean, this is coming right down to the wire. And if these guys just ride, as we say every week, if they just ride in a line, they'll be fine. But I have a feeling we're not done here yet.
The duel at Daytona, it happens under the lights at the World Center of Racing. At the next time by, we'll have 10 laps to go. I can promise you, things aren't slowing down by any means. I think the most guys that are frantically panicking, the guys outside the top 10, off of the lead lap, guys that are laps down with damage, just trying to get to the end. That's why you see so many guys that are laps down staying up on the outside of the racetrack, because they need the spots. They gotta get locked in. There's quite a few guys here that if they don't have a good finish right now, they'll be okay. They have some provisionals to fall back on, but there's a lot of names that don't. They need that solid finish to guarantee themselves a spot on the grid in the biggest race on the season. And then inside of 10 laps to go, we head single file. Is it the calm before the storm? We saw how quickly when DeMercha went out to the outside of the racetrack, how he and just one other driver with Ryan Pyland made some headway. I'm looking back at a guy like a Chris Bassini or a Derek Walker, I think, Andy, to jump out of line. Problem is, if you're the first guy to jump out of line, you probably don't go to the race lead because somebody sees you have momentum and they'll probably jump up in front of you.
Yeah, and look at the 11. We talk about that, and the 11 of Emery now working his way to the outside all by himself, able to pass 3 cars, working on Chris Bassini right now, trying to push these guys down. What a run he's got right now. The run just keeps on continuing here as he's made his way all the way up to that battle for the 3rd spot right now on the inside, but he's doing it as hell, and you can see all those guys behind him. Not one guy jumped up to help the rookie. He's got to do it all by himself, and he's doing a great job of it with it now as he's side-by-side battle for Ryan Keese.
Yeah, and the only thing that's interesting is that 11 came down pit road, so he is actually a lap down, passing all those leaders. Somehow he came back out in the exact same position he was earlier, just at the back of the pack. And oh, you got everybody coming off. You got the 10, the 24, the 32 coming down pit road. It looks like they're not going to be able to make it either.
They topped off on fuel. There is still not enough to make it to the end, and it was a beautiful pit road entry, I will say, for Seth the Merchant, Ryan Keese, and Josh Hanner. Those 3 drivers came down rather tightly packed together, and very clean entry. They're going to head to the stalls. Do they take tires? If you do you go with just 2 right sides? No, it is going to be gas and go for Josh Hanner, gas and go for Seth the Merchant. They're going to spin the tires off of the pit lane together. Ryan Keese will exit just behind. He also takes just fuel, and those 3 guys going to come out basically the way they came down, all running in line. Eyes look back forward. When does Pyland head down pit road? The 41-year leader, he'll stay out and down pit road. Here comes another group of drivers. Look at the 38, though. Jeff Figlin, he overshoots it. He'll smoke the cone, and that'll be a penalty.
Yeah, that's what you don't want right there is a mistake coming onto pit road. We talk about it week after week. That mistakes like that are what kill you in a race and maybe kill his opportunity to make it into the 500 coming up next weekend. So after getting the pole and having a pretty decent race, Jeff Figlin hits the cone, gets a penalty for that, overshoots his box, and now here goes everybody else right around him right now. He's going to come back out on the speedway with no help at all for the 38.
Yeah, what an unfortunate series of events for Jeff Figlin. He had ran a great race. But now that's going to turn the race over to the 41 of Ryan Pyland. They still have yet to come in, and that's, I think, it's actually putting the 11 back on the lead lap. And he is on the lead lap. He's 46 seconds behind, right in front of the leaders there. But the 41 and the 51 have yet to come on down. They're trying to save as much as they can. They're only running 187 right now as opposed to about 190. So what I think they're doing is trying to save as much fuel as they can right now. It looks like they're almost shutting the engine off as I'm riding on board with them. Yeah, they're actually shutting the engine off as they go down to the corners. So interesting strategy. Maybe they can make it last. I just don't think they're going to be able to, Evan.
Yeah, and how far can you stretch it as well? And if you can't make it and you have to start saving, what kind of scenario does that put yourself in either? Can you save enough if you have enough of a gap to make it to the end? Because it is Ryan Pyland and Jason Oatmans. And Oatmans not even on the back of the 41. Pyland working with the lap car in the 11 of Mark Emery, now on the lead lap. But again, he got his service done earlier. With that being said, the 11 machine is helping that 41 get away from Jason Oatmans. Oatmans has fallen off. Now, they have a large gap. Back to third, Glenn Hedrick down pit road, Kent Connolly down pit road this time. It would put Chris Bassini in the next highest running position. Who has completed service. He loses 3 spots that lap, though, as the triple duo there with the 24, the 10, and the 42 get around. So Ryan Keese is the closest driver who we know is good on fuel. He is 37 seconds back, albeit it is a stretch to save that much fuel, but you do have 37 seconds to work with if you do have to back off quite a bit.
Yeah, that's a ton of time, actually, here. And as long as you have help. If you don't have any help, that 35 seconds goes by pretty quickly here. But top 3, it looks like right now, that 11 car able to hook up with these leaders right now. And that's exactly what he needed. Otherwise, he would have continued to lose more and more spots. So shown on the lead lap right now, the 11, but that's just because he's right in front of that 41 of Ryan Pyland. But the question is here now as Figlin starts to work with him. Pyland's all by himself, and the problem he has now is just no drafting help. That time's going to start clicking away rather quickly here, but the problem for those other guys are running out of time.
Honestly, Andy, I've never seen this strategy before. I've been watching Jason Oatmans the last couple laps, watching his onboard telemetry, and he is down to 120 miles an hour. That is a slow snail pace around this racetrack. But he is trying to save as much as possible. The max speed I've seen him the last couple laps is 145. That last lap was 1 minute and 5 seconds is what it took around the track. Everybody else in the 49, so definitely giving up a lot of time. He's only about 6 seconds ahead of the lead pack of Keese. I'm thinking he's got to go. If he doesn't go now, he's pretty much SOL. I think he may be out, maybe not. He's picking up the speed. It might be a little too late. Here they come past him. That's going to be it for the 51, unfortunately.
And that's going to be the nail in the coffin for Jason Oatmans because, again, we talked about the big gap you're working with. Well, he lost that much time that quickly. So now all eyes go to Ryan Pyland. He works lap 39 of 40 and out of turn number 2. He's got 1.5 laps left to go, and he has a 26-second gap, and he is not backing off. He's still doing 180 miles an hour out on track by himself. I think he feels rather confident.
Of course, he does, kind of feeling a little bit of that as you just see this time just starting to tick away. Problem is they're going to come to the white flag right now this time. Not enough time for these guys to catch up to him. The draft is helping. Ryan Pyland, though, the strategy for him is definitely working out. Oh, he's out of fuel.
And the last lap, he's going to
He's
go into
coasted.
turn number 1, and she's shy, which surprises me because, again, he was digging like he had plenty. Most of these guys, they have live fuel numbers on board with them, and outside of that as well, some of these guys have crew chiefs pushing the numbers. He wasn't backing off at all. He had plenty of time to take it easy. He's only doing, though, 80 miles an hour off of turn number 2. The battle for the race win going to be coming up behind him because he's not going to make it to turn 3 in the race lead. I'll tell you that much. I don't even know if he'll make it to the start-finish line. Ryan Keese going to take over the race lead. He'll blow by on the inside. New race leader into turns 3 and 4, though, for the final time. It is Chris Bassini on the outside. He's got a push from Seth the Merchant. Can they get enough momentum to make one final push? Duel number 1, final time. Ryan Keese going to hold the inside lane, and no attempt. They can't get to him, and Keese, duel number 1 winner in Daytona.
What a great finish right there for those guys. Unfortunate for the 41. Ryan Pilot, where he's going to finish. He'll probably end up in that 12th spot. He's still going to probably transfer over when this thing's all said and done, just because he'll be basically a lap down ahead of those guys. So he'll probably finish in that 12th spot right there. And but great win for the 24, Ryan Keese. Haven't heard much about him or from him last season, and here he does. He picks up dual race number 1, a big checkered flag for Ryan Keese, and pretty good momentum boost for him and his team right now with that one.
And him burning it down here as well, going to help me realize that it's he in that 24 and not Josh Hanner, who comes home second in the number 10. Chris Bassini third. And we'll take a look, and you'll see at the top of the screen the full finishing results from duel number 1. Scroll across the top, 40 laps down, still 40 laps on tap this evening. And with that, our driver analyst assistant going to have to go and strap in. Guys, I asked you at the start of the race, and I would ask you again at the end of duel number 1. Now that you saw the nature of this one, what do you think you guys are going to have to do to be in contention for the W here in about 15 minutes or so?
Well, it looks like our strategy, I don't know about Josh's, but my strategy is definitely going to be just to survive. And survival is key here in this. And, I mean, I'm going to try to take the Nintendo Ford Fusion to victory lane, but my ultimate goal here is just to make it into the 500.
You know, it's definitely an interesting strategy. You know, we're going back and forth. 48 last week. We don't have the car we won the finale with. Brought a new car tonight. It's actually debuted LSRTV Cobalt Chevy. So
there we go.
We'll be out there on the track. Yeah, exactly. It'll be out there tonight, and hopefully it'll be able to get the job done. A little bit of new package with it. So we're gonna try to go and stay up in the lead. We're gonna go for the win. So we'll see how it happens. We'll be bringing the race winner from last week back for the 500. But this week, we'll see how this car does, and hopefully keep it for later on the season.
Well, guys, thanks for chatting with us, and we'll let you get down to the team rooms. Best of luck. Duel number 2 at Daytona. Coming up next at LSRTV, Ryan Keese winner in duel number 1. We'll step away, grab some refreshments, and when we return, 40 more laps going to determine the outside qualifying positions for the iSuperSpeedway 500. Next Friday night, we'll be right back here on iRacing Live. You watching LSRTV, the voice of sim racing. And welcome back to Daytona. Happy to still have you along for the ride. It's iSuperDUEL number 2 as the iSuperspeedway.com duel at Daytona rolls on. Duel number 1 already to the books. We've now set half the grid for the iSuperspeedway.com 500 next Friday night on LSRTV as we officially get Season 6 of the iSuperspeedway.com Racing Series underway. It's time to knock out a couple more drivers and lock in a few more. So welcome back to LSRTV's coverage of iSuperSpeedway action on iRacing Live. Evan Pasoko and Andy Kessler still topside with you at LSRTV producer tonight. Cisco Scaramuza pushing all the buttons, Andy. We got a little bit of a teaser of what we're going to see now into duel number 2 because we've already seen one. And we talked with Josh Ball and Jared Haggerty, who are up for the call with us in that one. They're now out on track, so they kind of got a good look as well. So to a point, I think that these guys are a little bit better off because they kind of know what to expect. But when everybody thinks they know what's going to happen, only everybody knows that nothing's going to be guaranteed. But nonetheless, it's 40 laps at Daytona. What we can promise is that you're not going to be able to go much further, I think, based on the numbers that we saw, much further than about 30 or just shy of 30 laps out of fuel, which means that no matter what in yellow happens, you're going to need to come down pit road, I think, at least one time, something that we weren't really expecting that caught us off guard.
Yeah, I thought it was only going to be a one-stop race, which it can be. It's just a matter of when those guys stopped. They stopped right at that lap 10 mark, so they didn't have quite enough fuel. They had to come down and top it off and get back out there. So with that said, now we kind of know. I think those guys saw it. I think everybody else that was kind of watching it kind of realizes exactly what needs to be done. So, what are these things too? And I'm looking at this, we talk about those two guys jumping into this and knowing what they need to do. But I look at this field and I'll say this flat out. I'm not putting anything against anybody that was in that first one, but this field here looks pretty stacked. We got a lot of champions in this duel here, in the second duel, mixed in with some rookies, but there's a lot of veterans in this field here in this second duel, and it's going to be a tough one, even for some of these rookies that are in this race. This is going to be a tough one to see who transfers.
And it's the same rules as what we saw earlier. It is 40 laps at Daytona. And a couple of guys, obviously you mentioned a lot of the big names. For those that have tuned in for the last couple of seasons here on LSRTV with the iSuperSpeedway.com Racing Series, the big names, for the most part, like you see in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, are okay. A lot of them have some provisionals to fall back on. I'd say top 15 is where you want to be safe, to be in a good spot. Let's take a look at the qualification procedures for the iSuperDUEL. Positions 1 through 30 are filled by those top 15 at each duel. If 19 or less drivers start in any duel, the transfer positions will be aborted and they'll be based on participation. However, we have meet the minimum number for every single race. So the top 15 from Duel 1, the top 15 from Duel 2, you are locked in. Positions 31 through 35 of the grid are going to be based on the fastest speeds from duel qualifying that did not advance. So right now you're taking a look at some qualifying results, which is just a 1 lap time. If you don't make the top 15, but you have a good qualifying spot, the top 5 drivers with the best qualifying time that did not get locked in going to make the grid as well. Positions 36 through 40th are the provisionals based on past season's points, and anybody 41st on back going to be handed out to defending series champions. So I think that's a very good balance. We talked a lot about the rookies in duel number 1, not as many, but there are some in duel number 2. Let's list off some of the names of people that we're going to be seeing competing for the first time full season in Season 6. Mitchell Reeves, Paul Kashiba, Louis Calderon, Logan Clampett, Andrew Berger, a 3-time champion of the iSuperSpeedway Cup Series before it was rebranded to the iSuperSpeedway.com Racing Series. Brandon Cruz, Montevice, Sean Bounty, Joey Piccoella, and then Stephanie Lessentine, Kelly Dahl technically becoming rookies, making their first full-time appearances. It's a lot of talent, and that's the rookie class, Andy.
Oh, it is. And, I'm looking at this, and tonight here, Rod Flagg in here, Rodney Wofford, you got Paul Servant in here. He's a veteran. Shane McKeechins knows how to get it done here. And, Jorgensen Jr., you got Chaburko in here, Ray Rittenauer. I mean, this, you got the truck winner we talked about with Casey Malone here earlier tonight. He's in this one. We'll see what he can do in these Cup cars on the plate track. So there's a lot of big names in this second group here, and I think it's going to be a fantastic race. And for the rookies that are in this, they can learn a lot. I think they can learn a whole lot with this race here.
Well, qualifying is drawn to a close, and let's grid them up. We'll rack them and stack them, let you know the starting lineup for iSuperSpeedway Duel number 2. Rodney Wofford going to qualify on pole position. The number 7 is here with the 49.307, besting the time of our Duel number 1 fastest qualifier. Going to start in the number 1 spot, and William Roberts Jr. going to sit shotgun alongside him, qualifying in 2nd. Paul Servant going to start tonight in 3rd. Dana Osborne will roll from 4th. That's the outside of row number 2. At P5 is the 98 of Grey Cooks.
6th tonight will be the 28 of Shane McEachin. Matt Von Tempe in the 17 will roll off 7th. 8th goes to Dan Harrington. Rod Flagg is going to start in that 9th spot. And rounding out the top 10 here tonight in the Duel number 2 is a 22 of Stephanie Lessentine.
Daniel Ferguson just behind, 27th in practice to 11th on the grid. Alongside him on row number 6 and 12th going to be Larry Camp. Justin Anderson 13th, 14th is Mark Jorgensen Jr. Josue Ramirez in 15th.
Jared Haggard, he's going to roll off in that 16th spot. 17th is Josh Ball. 18th goes to Christian Peterson. Andrew Berger will start 19th, and 20th will be Lewis Calderon.
Ketterman 21st, 22nd right now with the 2nd, conveniently enough. Sean Downey 23rd, 24th is Casey Malone and Joey Picuella in 25th.
26th tonight will be the 93 of James Pileski. 2 guys not making a qualifying lap will be the number 3 of Brandon Chaburko and the 92 of Rod Mitten.
And that rounds out a 28-car starting grid for iSuperDUEL number 2. We get set to roll from the pit lane and get tonight's second half of action underway. The pace car now rolls for 1 lap until we do get underway tonight. 40 laps, 100 miles, start to finish. A little bit shy of what I would consider the average length for one of our A-main feature races that we'll see throughout the season. Again, not only is the Season 6 schedule beefed up with a couple of more races, but some new race styles as well. In addition to the endurance formats that we're used to and the heat race formats that we're used to, going to be added for this season is the cumulative format, where we're doing several segments of X amount of laps, kind of like an all-star format. We're going to first see that in action coming up in the 19th of February, I believe, right here at Daytona for 3 25-lap segments. So we're excited to get Season 6 underway. You start to get the butterflies a little bit. It doesn't get real until Daytona next Friday night for the iSuperSpeedway 500, but you're ready to go now. We mentioned it a lot in the first duel, if you weren't with us, Andy, that this is a fresh start. You got to make your point now. Although it's not for points, although winning this race is no better than finishing 15th inside of the fact that you just qualify a little bit better for the 500. This is a statement race. Don't be surprised if we see a surprise winner. Don't be surprised if we see some of our seasoned veterans take over. It could go either way.
That it could, and I'm looking forward to it as we're getting ready to hit this green flag. And it's just you look at the field all the way through, and you talk about things to do, and looks like the pace car is going to head off, and green flag is in the air, and Rodney Wofford will lead us to the green here in duel number 2.
And the 7 swept Daytona Speed Weeks. The last time we were here at the start of Season 5, he won his shootout. He won his duel. He won the 500. He wants to go back-to-back in dual race with a win, and he'll start from pole position. It helps him out to turn number 2, and he's got help. Great to see that 85 Oreo Chevrolet of Paul Servant running up front early. Outside lane going to drop back 2 car lengths at the start of this one. The 54 and the 28 slide back just a little bit, but so far it is Rodney Wofford to turn 3.
Yeah, Wofford, that's one of those veterans that knows how to get it done at Daytona. You mentioned sweeping all of Daytona Speed Weeks last season, and now he's got himself an opportunity. Didn't win the shootout, but he can win his duel here tonight in the 500 next week. The 54, though, on the outside, William Roberts Jr. struggling a little bit here on the start. Just can't get that 28 car, Shane McEachin, up to his back bumper to get a run going here. Right now sits in that 4th spot, battling side by side right now with the number 8 of Dana Osborne.
And Osborne, another name that has had very much success here in the iSuperSpeedway Dakar Racing Series. But again, another name that quite did not have the Season 5 performance that he wanted to. tonight. Again, the place to pick up where you left off and try to get going much better. And that U.S. Army Chevrolet, a good spot because normally it's the second or third spot in line that is the guy that likes to jump up and join the outside and kind of steal away the wind and the thunder of the guys on the outside with the momentum. Not enough to get clear though right now. The 54 still side by side and on his door for the time being. But at least right now, in a pretty comfortable spot. We had old 28 drivers start this race. Rod Mitten is one lap down, though he is manually disconnected. He'll get a DNF in duel number 2, and that's not good news for him unless he falls back on a provisional. That means that he won't start in next week's iSuperspeedway 500.
Yeah, that's not what you want. And you know what, also, too, these guys, the pressure's on. I mean, you talk about this not being a points race, but a lot goes into this, and we talked about at the top of the whole beginning of duel number 1 that, some guys' feelings are going to be hurt because they're not going to be in the 500, and they're going to be on the sidelines watching this thing. So when you talk about pressure, the pressure is definitely on for these guys, a lot more so than the regular season races. So it's going to be interesting to see who can shine, who can come through this with a good finish, and see if there's any guys, with a sort of comeback story here in this race that maybe starting towards the back had a bad qualifying run, if they can get up there and get into the top 15 right now. But the battle for the lead is shaping up now as the outside lane finally gets hooked up. William Roberts Jr. leading that way right now on the top side.
Yeah, we really didn't get a whole lot of comers and goers in that first duel. Just saw one caution flag early, saw a couple of guys pitting, and we had a complete cycle of green flag pit stops at the end en route to the closing of that one. So far, though, everybody's civil. We always talk about the importance of just making it through these races, and it is different for the B-Mains, where if you qualify into one of our heat race format events, B-Main doesn't matter where you finish because you requalify. This is setting the grid. You win this race, you're a lot better off than finishing this race at 15th. The ultimate goal the same, though. You get locked in. At least at the moment, these guys recognize, hey, we have a cycle of green flag pit stops, which I think is the big thing, Andy. If we can go green all the way, not have to pit, I feel like we're going to be a lot more aggressive. But because these guys know that the fuel numbers are not going to work out in any way to allow them to be able to go without coming down for service at one point, I don't think anybody really starts going at each other until they've gotten that pit stop out of the way. You always set an objective in mind, especially on these endurance races. If you get some of the longer ones we'll see later on in the season, when you're looking at 100 to 120 laps at tracks like Daytona and Talladega, those are the races where you get out there, you go, all right, give me another 35 laps, you pit, you say, give me another 35 laps, you come back down pit road. You have an objective. Right now, I think most of these guys are just thinking of getting to that mark, get their service out of the way, and then worry about fighting for the win. Just stay close. Don't let these guys out of reach. I think that's the main objective. So far, it's working out good. The top 18 drivers within 1 second.
Yeah, caution, trouble in the back.
And it's Joey Picuella and Brandon Chiburko. Problems in the corner. Yellow flag flies at lap number 6. And it's a 2-car accident. We'll take a second look in a moment. But it looks like the 3 of Chiburko came down. And the 34 rookie and Sean Boundy coming up at the bottom of the racetrack going to the inside. Not expecting the 3 to drop down. Chiburko tried to get in line with him and do some sort of a tango. Did not work, and Chiburko goes sliding up the hill. He and the 29 of Joey Picolella are involved in that accident. Heavy damage as well onto Sean Boundy's number 34 Chevrolet. It'll be a 3-car accident well off of that main pack, surprisingly enough. Bringing out our first caution, and much like we saw in duel number 1, Andy, it comes within the opening 7 laps.
Yeah, that could have been a little bit of aggressive driving there. Maybe some blocks thrown there by the 3 early on, and listen, things like that are going to happen, and especially going through the corners like that, and that's probably the worst spot to make a block like that. That's what it looked like to me anyway, was a block. It could be just a matter of a little tightness, drifting up a little bit, and these cars get a decent run, get a push or something like that. They're going to get up in there, and it doesn't take much. You hook the bumpers, and around you go, and trouble already for three of the guys. I think Chiburko's, he might be locked in based on Chase making the chase last season. So I think the 3's okay as far as that's concerned. But we'll have to see for the rest of the guys like Sean Bounty how much that damage is actually going to affect him and if he can make it into the top 15.
And we had some contact on pit road. Josh Ball did not want to come down. He elected to, and there was contact between the 48 and the 22. Very minor contact. It doesn't look like Stephanie Lesentide has to stay down in her pit stall any longer than usual to get any damages fixed. And I see Josh Ball coming off of the pit lane. He elected to come down, take fuel only, and go. So damage not a big concern for either of those drivers that got into that little bit of a scuffle coming off of turn number 4. Do want to note that, again, tonight's rules a little bit different than what we see during the regular season competition. There is no quick fixes for this special event, the Duel at Daytona, as opposed to the regular races in which you will have one quick repair available. What you see is what you got. There's no brand new race car sitting down there in the pit lane for you. That's why it's especially tough luck for Sean Bounty in that accident, and as well Joey Piccolella, because those are 2 rookies making their first start. They have no provisionals. They have to make that top 15 in an accident early, not the place that they want to be in.
Yeah, and for the 29, most definitely he's smoking pretty bad. So that car right there is probably going to be on pit road for a while. His race is probably done. As far as Sean Bounty, it looks like it's the majority of it's looks like cosmetic. I don't think he had too much damage as far as suspension or engine damage. So for him, it's going to be a matter of maybe not leading the pack, but he might have to draft behind somebody and keep that air off of that front bumper that's got the damage on it.
Without a doubt, your strategy changes. Like you said, you may not have the speed or the race car to lead a line, but you may still have the opportunity to use the draft off of somebody else. It looks like Joey Piccolella sees that the damage on his car is terminal. He has manually disconnected. So has Rod Mitten. So the 92 and the 29 our first official retirees on the night. In duel number 2, Brandon Chiburko not officially out. He's still on pit road, but for all intent and purposes, he is done. The good news for him is that he'll fall back on the champion's provisional, being the Season 2 iSuperSpeedway champion, and he'll make it onto the grid in the iSuperSpeedway 500, starting outside, though, of the top 40, depending on the other provisionals that'll be dished out. Based on the way he drives, though, I don't expect outside the top 40. Is that bad news for him? He'll be in the show. The question is now guys like Bounty, a guy like as well, James Pileski running in 24th position, not really damaged, but he kind of lost touch with the pack that last time. When you're this far back, it's hard to make passes. I think for Sean Bounty, the case that he's in now is he just wants to make it to the end of this race. He's not all that badly torn up, so he can still be competitive. But when you have guys that get damaged, what they do is try to not get into a second accident. And as bad as it sounds to say, Andy, they have to hope that people in front of them get into bad accidents so then they can take those spots away from them, spots that they wouldn't be able to get under green flag conditions because of the damage they're working with. May not be the case with Bounty, because the car looks pretty good. It looks like they got a lot of damage fixed under the caution flag, but that's going to be a game that guys that are involved in accidents are going to play all night long. That's why we saw like 8 or 9 lap cars in duel number 1 constantly getting put laps down because they just needed to stay out there and hope that they could get inside the top 15, which is the magic number.
Yeah, and it looked like the previous race in duel number 1, it looked like there was I believe if my numbers are correct, I think there was 2 guys that were actually laps down that finished 14th and 15th. So you're definitely not out of it if you go down a lap, but you just, like you said, have to hope that somebody else has some issues. For guys like Bounty starting in the back again on this restart, you hope there's an accident in front of you because you might end up getting caught up in it. So at the same time, you're far enough back that maybe you can get the brakes applied in enough time and avoid anything, a major catastrophe to happen. But we'll have to see when this field gets set to take the green back over here. The 17, Matt Bontempi, he's going to be your leader.
And all of that is hypothetically speaking as well. That's if everything goes well and according to plan. And if your night starts off rough, chances are it's not going to start going your way, but you got to do everything that you can. The lights are gone off on top of the pace car. We're going to go back green with 30 laps to go at iSuperDUEL number 2. Matt Bontempi is in front. Tanner Mann to second, Jared Haggerty to third, and Louis Calderon is in 4th position. And then you'll find Wofford, Servin, Hooks, and company who have been down to the pit lane, and they got serviced that last time under the caution flag. Again, with the guys who pitted already in that first duel, Andy, they pitted about 7 laps in, still had to come down pit road. I like the call of the guys staying out, considering, and again, that's assuming that everybody else is still going to have to come down once again. It's a good call for those guys who go from 21st, 16th, and 20th in the case of Tanner Man, Jared Haggany, and Louis Calderon to now running 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Behind Matt Bontempi. The pace car going to make the sharp left-hand turn, down and away. Green flag back in the air at Daytona at a 17 machine. Good jump on the inside of the racetrack. He'll get a small run down the short chute to turn number 1. Tanner Mann's got help from behind in Calderon on the outside to turn 1, but the inside lane stacked up single file, getting it back up to the gears now to 4th gear and already at 170 miles an hour at 30 laps to go.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Bontempi, though, getting a decent push right now from Haggerty, getting themselves pulled out ahead of that first car on the outside. Tanner Mann, he's got a battle with Rodney Wofford right now for that 3rd spot. Looks like they're going to get him clear. 57, having trouble. Louis Calderon getting to that back bumper of Tanner Mann, and that definitely slows that top side down. You see the 8 of Dana Osborne now move down to the bottom, try to get into that faster lane. Meanwhile, Wofford up front, he's got help with the 98 of Craig Hooks. He's looking for the lead as they head back to turn number 1.
And again, Wofford knows his way around Daytona. He's clear, enough time to jump down. No, back on the inside is Matt Bontempi. He'll shut the door. And again, Matt Bontempi, one of the more fierce competitors we saw in Season 4 of the iSuperspeedway.com Racing Series. Didn't see a lot of him last season. Back on track, looking to make another full season charge to 17, picking up right where we left off with him. We saw him competing full-time. I believe the last time we saw him was at Talladega, and he was up front at winning races and getting top 5s and top 10s. He's on the inside. He's working with Jared Haggany. We talked to Haggany, who sat up in the booth with us as our ISS driver analyst for duel number 1. Heard a little bit about his strategy. He said he just wants to survive. He minds his own business on the bottom, the outside, the go lane. That's 7 to Wofford gets the push from the 98 of Greg Cooks. A new look on that Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet for Season 6. He'll get the assist on that one. He pushes the 7 car out in front, and it's a 3-car breakaway on the inside versus the 6-car line topside.
Yeah, pretty good separation right now between Haggerty and Tanner Mann on that bottom side. Servant's going to drop down in line now and maybe try to help these guys out right there as the top side continuing to having a lot of momentum right now. Greg Hooks, like you said, in that new look paint scheme for the season right there in that Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet right now, looking to lead this lap as they come to the stripe. Looks like he's going to do it off the help from William Roberts Jr. William Roberts Jr., a great qualifying effort, and that's starting on the outside of the pole. I believe he was locked in. I believe I heard Race Control say he is locked in the 500 based on time. So good job by the 54 William Roberts. And knowing that takes the pressure off you. You know you're locked in. You know you're going to be in the big show. Now you can go out and take chances like he's doing now, 3 wide for the lead.
Yeah, and he's going to leave that 98 3 wide in turn 3. Trying to come back down. There's no room. Contact. Dan Harrington going to push his way through as Hooks tried to come back down. And if they touched any harder, that would have been big junk in 3 and 4. 82, though, doesn't get knocked out of shape. He keeps the middle lane strong. And goodbye goes Greg Hooks outside of the racetrack. He'll fall all the way, at least outside of the top 10, looking to get in line behind the 8 car, Dana Osborne, and he'll do so in turns 1 and 2. Just like that, though, you go from battling for the race lead to being the 7th or 8th car in line, and you talk about aggression. Well, it works out for William Roberts Jr. He ditched that machine on the outside. Oh, contact! Jose Ramirez spit out of line down the back. Big trouble in 3.
Wow, what a wreck right there. Contact right in the front of the field right there. That could have been a lot bigger than what it was, Evan. A lot of cars able to dodge big bullets right there. 48, Josh Ball comes into mind right there also. He was able to skate through that rather easily there. But, man, that was big lick. I don't know if that was netcode or what, but that car turned right up into that wall so fast.
There was some sort of connection problem. I'm not sure if it was with the 75 or the 88. But Jorgensen definitely went into the bumper of that 75 of Ramirez, and it hooked him around. and that's why you saw that 75. But again, we were surprised. He just shot straight up at a line, hard into the outside wall. Another driver involved in the accident that gets hooked after all of it is Shane McEachin. He takes a pretty good look into the outside wall, back into first. Heavy damage to Jared Haggerty's number 23. We were just talking about him, just trying to survive this race. And I believe Josh Ball's number 48 machine got a little bit of damage as well, as he ducked to the inside of the racetrack and he came down on Haggerty as he tried to avoid that. The 23 ended up at a fence where he got his damage. I see the 8 machine also, a Dana Osborne. So those are a bunch of names that we had been talking about tonight being fast guys that know their way around here just like that. Take 5 guys out of the equation. Pretty significant damage on a handful of our top runners.
Yeah, and I'm kind of surprised actually, just because with the names we had in this field, I didn't expect a couple cautions this early in this race, but everybody coming down to pit road now that it's open. Oh, one staying out, the 48, Josh Ball, deciding to stay out on this time by.
So he elects to stay out. Meanwhile, William Roberts Jr. comes down, but the 48 and the 85 going to stay out and go to the race lead at Daytona. We're going to be halfway home at iSuperDUEL number 2, but as we work under the safety clean caution flag for the World Center of Racing, we'll take an opportunity, take a yellow flag of our own. When we come back, restart. We'll be halfway home, half down. You're watching LSRTV's coverage of the iSuper Speedway Duel at Daytona. Plenty more still to come. We're back live at the virtual Daytona International Speedway. Getting set for a restart. We'll put 19 down. There's going to be 21 laps left on the board at iSuperDUEL number 2 at Daytona. Josh Ball stays out. He leads in front of the field as we welcome you back inside LSRTV's coverage of iSuper Speedway Speed Weeks here on iRacing Live. Evan Pasoko and Andy Kessler still topside with you, and it is the 48 in front, staying out. The pit strategy abundant early in duel number 2.
Yeah, a few guys staying out there. Andrew Berger, Rod Flagg up there also. Ray Rittenauer. I think the first ones to come down at 54, William Roberts, Rodney Wofford. Those guys came down pit road. They might be able to make it to the end. As far as the other guys, I think they have to bank on there being another caution. But Josh Ball right where he wants to be up front leading this thing when we hit the green.
And the fact that those guys up front elected to not come down pit road tells me that they think we're not done using the yellow flag so far here tonight. So the pace car going to dive by 1 lap shy of the cross flag point in Daytona. Green flag back in the air, and it is the 48 on the inside. Good run, but it leaves the hole wide open for somebody to jump down. Rittenauer going to take advantage of it. The Reebok Chevy ducks in line and leaves the 42 up top side to work with the 7 Rodney Wofford. Inside advantages 2 car lengths.
Yeah, 2 car lengths right now. Berger having a hard time keeping up with the pace. He's got Wofford, though, on his rear bumper. Right now, Harrington just behind him in the 17 of Matt Bontempi. Also in that mix on that high side. They just need to get hooked back up together right now. As you see Wofford really getting up to the back bumper of that 42 machine. Bottom side, though, still at least a car and a half length lead right now. Josh Ball over that outside lane. Outside lane starting to make a move, though, off turn 4.
And we see it every time and you expect it, but it is the inside who's going to have the obvious advantage right off of a restart, because it's a shorter way around the track when you're getting up to speed. Once we get 1 lap in, though, and that time by, we take the halfway point at Daytona. Then the momentum swings to the outside because those are the guys making the runs, got the side draft going down. You can't get any sort of an advantage on a side draft when you're on the inside of the racetrack. So the guys on the top side are dictating what's happening. A little bit of connection problem back in the pack. Jorgensen's number 88 Chevrolet disappeared for a moment. That would lead me to believe that it was his fault or his connection issue that we saw earlier on after we saw an accident take out of this race. Josue Ramirez, and now 3 wide we go. Andrew Berger, 3-time iSuperspeedway.com Cup Series champion. He's going to get pushed out on the outside lane, and he'll fall 3 wide back behind the 34 of Sean Boundy in 13th.
Yeah, that's a very lonely feeling when you get pushed up like that and you have no help. You can't get any speed out of the car, and everybody pretty much freight train you all the way through on that bottom side. But the battle still continues and rages on now as they're 2 wide, 2 deep, all the way back to about the 10th spot right now. Top side gets the advantage, though. Wofford down the back straightaway. He's got him cleared. Does he drop down in front? Does he stay up top? He drops down. Josh Ball now going to look at his rear bumper and give him a push as the 40 or the 54 of William Roberts now assumes that top side race lead, and he's got the 5. It looks, or excuse me, the 82 of Dan Harrington on his back bumper. Wofford, though, is going to lead that lap as they head back to turn 1.
And it was a little bit of a close call behind them. The 5, Tater Man, got clipped in the left front. He has now a little bit of damage on the CarQuest Kellogg Chevrolet. Not sure how much it's actually going to hurt him, but he is sliding back a little bit to the outside of the racetrack. He'll lose a couple of spots that time through. If you're Josh Ball, you don't want to sit second. We saw in duel number 1, the car second on the inside be the most fluid position. He's got nowhere to go. 3 wide up the middle. The 71 Christian Peterson missed out on a Season 5 championship by 3 points. That's all that set the Merchant had in his favor to walk away with the title. The 71 looking to improve on that P2 in points this year and walk away with the championship. It begins in Speed Weeks. He wants the W in duel number 2, back from 18th on the grid to P6.
Yeah, all the way up to that 6th spot right there, just ahead of him, Josh Ball, like we've been talking about, a big mover also. But Peterson been very, very quiet in this race so far. 3rd in line on that outside. Oh, it's the 17 of Matt Bontempi now decides to go to the inside. That's going to slow up that top side again as Harrington now falls back to Christian Peterson's bumper. They got a little bit of help. It looks like Jorgensen Jr. also 3 cars, though, on the outside lane. I don't think it's going to get it done when you're talking about 6 strong on the bottom. Here they come, though, on the outside. Harrington trying to make a run towards the front all the way into turn number 1. And, wow, some dicey stuff going on behind. And the 88 of Jorgensen Jr. there, not too sure, I don't think, which lane he wanted to go. He leaves the 71 of Peterson out to dry now. Harrington, the lone car on the top side off turn 2.
And you can see that he just drops straight backwards. We've seen times where a lone car on the outside can get work done, but it's when he goes up there on purpose. He jumps out of line, uses almost that slingshot effect for the last driver in line on the line that he kind of abandons and gets up there. When you're going the wrong direction, you can't just pinch somebody down and expect to stop falling. Luckily for him, is there's been kind of a falling apart of the top 10 pack. So he finds a good spot in line behind Mark Jorgensen Jr. and doesn't fall any further down than 8th. But now he finds ourselves in the stalemate again. Single file. Who makes the first move? Answer the 7. Rodney Wofford, top side. The push from the 17 to Matt Bontempi. Not clear into the corner. They'll get the advantage down the Daytona super stretch, though, just as the 54 piles back on the inside. Is it enough for Rodney Wofford to go to the top spot? It'll be close. Not going to be clear, though. A push from Josh Ball. Going to keep Roberts on the bottom.
Yeah, it's called protecting your position right there. And William Roberts Jr. right there doing a great job with the help, obviously, of the 48 of Josh Ball. Rittenauer, though, another guy up there in the top, started that 22nd spot up to 5th now. So the 87 uses strategy to his advantage now as Wofford still, looks like he's still struggling. You know, he's only got one car giving him help, Matt Bontempi. Going to make a valiant run for it right now with a little bit of side draft help off of turn number 2.
And they were, that close to getting clear. You get a run, it's hard to control when you get that run, but they jumped out again going into the corner. Into the corner is where the outside loses a lot of speed. If you're in the middle of 1 and 2, in the middle of 3 and 4, and you jump up, it's a good idea. Like right there, the 48, he wants the push from the 7. They're not having any of it. The 87 Rittenauer, he'll cut Ball a break and leave the bottom lane open, but not enough for the 48 to slide down, and all the momentum to the 3rd lane, 4 wide. Lap traffic on the apron across the start-finish line. Wofford to P1, the 17 to Bontempi to 2nd, and somehow Dan Harrington's now 3rd again.
Yeah, he is sitting 3rd right now, 1st in that top side. He's going to drop down now, 3rd in line on the bottom side. The top 5-6 cars now, single file, as the 88 of Jorgensen Jr. going to fall in on the tail end of this lap. But that second pack starting to creep in ever so closely, led by Rod Flagg. He's got help. The 42, Andrew Berger, giving him a decent push, along with the 52 of Casey Malone. Truck winner here in Atlanta just hours ago. So looking to continue that momentum and that try to make it into the Daytona 500.
Yeah, that would be quite a weekend for him if he can get the W. First career in the Truck Series. It also looked to do the same here in the iSuperSpeedway.com Racing Series. Almost at 10 laps to go. Again, we were just talking about how we were shy of the cross flag point at halfway, and once you get to 10 to go, you start talking about how cautions are going to take a good chunk out of this race, and it's go time. There's no more hanging back. We talked about these guys trying to get to the fuel stop before they start racing. I think a lot of these guys are good on fuel. There's still a couple of drivers that we don't know about, but for the most part, everybody is good on fuel to the end. Those people that pitted at lap number 19, you can go 21 laps on the limited fuel cell that they're running on this Daytona dual package on board these cars, so they should be good. I'd say everybody that restarted outside the top 5. There's a couple of names that I'm not sure about, which could be interesting, because if they do need a pit, then you're throwing the race away. You're not going to catch these guys in 10 laps. It doesn't happen that way. So if you can't make it on fuel and we stay green for the next 10 laps and 25 miles, you're not going to make that cut most likely, because we still have 21 drivers on the lead lap and about 24 still on track, all vying again for the top 15 lock-in.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about right now, is they started to shuffle things out just a little bit just behind that second. Whoa, we got trouble in the front. 88 of Jorgensen, the 54 is involved, the 17, the 48 of Josh Ball spinning through pit road.
Caution will finally fly, and it is the big one into the tri-oval at Daytona. Caution at 10 laps to go, and it took out a lot of our top runners. It all started with the 17 of Matt Bontempi moving from the outside to the bottom, and it wasn't like the 82 didn't let him in, but he didn't pull out of the way either. It was just the slightest bit of contact, almost a little bit of bumper hook is the term that a lot of guys on the sim like to use. No longer the COT cars. The cars don't line up nice with the front and rear bumpers. Gets hooked off the front of the 82. They almost saved it, and a little bit of net code on behalf of the 54 didn't help either, but you had the 54 record. Josh Ball, the 48 with that special LSRTV paint scheme on tonight, gets clobbered. Jorgensen got junked, and at least 4 or 5 other names, because when he came back up track, he took out Dan Harrington, the 26 machine as well, of Rod Flag is involved. It was ugly from turn 4 to turn 1. That's a lot of good race cars torn up. More so, I think, than about the 6 names or so on the lead lap that were outside of the top 15 cutoff. So guys in that accident now, and you're going to have to resort to what we were talking about earlier, and that is just trying to limp home and still finish in the top 15, because that was a good amount of cars.
Yeah, it was a good amount of cars, and unlike in the first race about this time, we only had about 12 cars, or excuse me, about 15 cars on the lead lap, so a little bit more still on the lead lap, 20 of them to be exact. We'll see how things start scoring in the loop. Looks like the 33 layer might actually lose a lap, but we'll have to see as this thing shakes out right now. But caution flag again for a lot of these guys, and guys like Josh Ball that stayed out. This is what he wanted, but the problem was he was actually in the wreck, so not what he wanted to do to finish out duel number 2.
And it's funny because, again, we always take the calm nature of these races at times for granted. We just started talking about going green to the end, it's go time, and then you have a big accident, and now you kind of sit here in a limbo almost and think, well, what's next? Because there's a lot of guys that are damaged that are going to be out there at the back of the lead pack fighting amongst themselves. There's always a possibility that caution comes from amongst them, and then you have the guys still battling for the race win. And then there's still the fuel question, but I don't think anybody took the opportunity to come down pit side the last time. Not sure if pit road going to be opening for the first time this time through. If nobody ducks down, then it means that fuel was good from here on out. Not sure that the caution really helps you much, but it could be a slight saving grace if you do need to get fuel. But I think at this point, you want to be top 5, top 10 if you're looking for a win, and you really don't want to be anywhere outside the top 10. I think that'd be too close to call if you're talking about, trying to make the cut line, which is interesting that we say that, Andy, because we look back at the championship just 3 weeks ago. Seth the Merchant had the championship here at Daytona locked up, decided, hey, I have a good enough gap back to my championship counterpart, Christian Peterson, to not just sit in second, go for the win. He wrecks across the start-finish line, still gets the championship, but instead of winning by 12 points, he wins by just 3. So while I say I don't want to be outside the top 10 because that's not comfortable, really nowhere is when you have a restart. About 6 or so laps to go at Daytona. We still have no idea really what those top 15 numbers are going to be. What we can tell you about is the guys that have had bad nights. 24th on back, all out of this race, and 16th through 23rd, sitting multiple laps down.
Yeah, and sitting these laps down with the amount of time that's left, this will probably be the final restart that we will see here this evening if a caution does come out again. So those guys that are a lap down, that is unfortunate for them. A lot of them, big names, Harrington, Mark Jorgensen Jr., Greg Hooks even, with a chance that they might not make the show. Those guys obviously ran all last season. They have a lot of points accumulated as far as getting some of those provisionals. So some of them guys might be safe. The only thing that means with them having the trouble is guys like Casey Malone, a rookie, and Sean Bounty there, now all the way up to, interested to see him with the damage. He's all the way up to 7th. So, it's an opportunity for those guys now to be inside that top 15 with the opportunity to qualify for the big show next Friday night. So, lots of things still left to happen. Obviously, we get one more shot at this thing. At least to finish under the green flag. So we'll see how it shakes out here in the closing laps.
And with the start of this 2016 calendar and the Season 6 Championship, the new team format has been implemented in the iSuperSpeedway.com Racing Series. So you'll notice that a lot of the names that we've been talking about being teammates, for years, have now been split apart. And you see the formation of about 7 or 8 teams that are in total. Some of the bigger names include Outlaw Motorsports, JR Motorsports, Chicken Wing Motorsports, some of the headline teams, Six Man Motorsports as well, one to keep an eye on, and there's about 4 or 5 additional teams. Basically, in order to get a ride in this series now, is it's very similar to the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, and that is people own a car. You own a number, and you choose a driver to drive that car for you, which has really reshaped the entire team landscape of this series, which also, though, Andy, has opened up the door, I think, for a lot of the young rookies that we're seeing in the field here tonight that maybe under different circumstances may not have found an opening.
No, you're absolutely right about that part right there. A bunch of them with the opportunity to jump in a car. Like you said, though, it changed up a bunch of things as far as the teams. And, you know, for a lot of these guys, it shook up a lot of car numbers, too. So it'd take us a few races probably to make sure we got everybody in sync and where they need to be.
And the lights have gone out around the Daytona International Speedway as well as off from atop the American Childhood Cancer Organization. Ford Mustang GT, 6 laps to go. That does give us an opportunity for if we do see a caution flag fly within 1 lap of the restart, we will go back green for one final time. If a caution flies inside of the final 5 laps, without the green-white checker system present at iRacing, this race would end under a caution flag cycle, which is the way that we saw the finish to the previous race tonight in the Rod Car Truck Tour come to a close, where we did see a very good green flag finish just a couple of minutes ago, maybe just going on a half hour or so now past the finale race and the finale couple of laps there closing it on the duel number 1. So 6 laps to go. Could it be for the final time? Pace car down. Green flag for Rodney Wofford.
Yeah, the veteran leading the pack now on the high side. Oh, looks like the 17 of Matt Bontempi maybe missed a shift or something there. Stacked up that high side. That's going to separate everybody a little bit right there. Looks like the 57 had to check up a lot. 77 also, but that's going to shake things up, even up towards the front now as Rittenauer has no help until right now. Here comes the 77 of Justin Anderson trying to give him a hand. Now everybody's splitting up in the top right now, the top pack. Wofford, he got taken over. Here comes Rod Flagg looking for the lead in turn 3.
And a smart move by the 26. He's clear. Does he drop down to take it? He's working with the 22 with Stephanie Lesentine. Again, those cars teammates on JR Motorsports, but he can't stay up long enough to let her come down with him. He'll drop to the inside, and it was a good time to move as now the 22 gets shuffled up on a 3rd lane because he saw that 7 Rodney Wofford had no help behind him, Andy. The 7 had no push. Once that 34 got to the back of the 7, it wasn't going to be as easy. But Rod Flagg saw that 7 was not going to have any momentum for about 10-15 seconds. Jumped up, pounced on the opportunity. He now leads at Daytona inside of 5 to go. 2 drivers on the outside, still Ray Rittenauer, and still the 77 of Justin Anderson. Stephanie Lesentine fallen to 6th and almost losing touch with the top 5 breakaway. Again, this lead pack, which was very highly condensed before the yellow, spread apart after we had the problems on the restart for Matt Bontempi, kind of split us up, with just 13 drivers left on the lead lap, and 10 of them within 0.7 of a second of your race leader. This race is far from over at 4 laps to go.
Oh, yeah, tons can happen here in the waning moments of this one. That second group, though, led by Stephanie Lesting, they're going to have to really get hooked up on each other's bumper if they want an opportunity to get back up to these front 5 that have now separated themselves by quite a bit. Over a second now as we look at the, well, we'll be able to see it as it resets itself this next time by there, but the time is definitely dwindling away for that second group to get up here and battle for that win. The outside lane, though, Rittenauer up front, he's still got the help of Anderson on the outside. The problem is only 2 of them, and I don't think those 2 cars can or will make up any ground here on Rod Flagg right now, currently leading this race right now. They get a run, as we see, going back into turn number 1. The problem is, though, they're going to stall out again here and give that bottom side that clear advantage off of turn number 2.
And the second pack, we'll call it 6th, through 10th that sit just a second off of the race leaders. They're not that far away, but they have to stay single file if they want to catch these guys. They're going to have to work together and push. If you're busy going side by side, jumping up, jumping down low, and fighting for P6, good for you, but you're not going to get up to the top 5. Now, they could be fine, content with running inside the top 10, but if they want to get to the battle for the win, they're going to have to figure things out. The outside, though, has got the advantage. It's 3 drivers versus 2. New race leader at 2 laps to go. The king of Daytona himself, Rodney Wofford, in front. He'll bring the 87 with him. Ray Rittenauer the second. Not enough room, though. The drop to the inside. 87, 77, stay high.
Yeah, they do stay high right now. Wofford did a great move there to get up in front and get ahead of Rod Flag. Outside lane, though, those 2 cars, they've been out there the last 4 or 5 laps now since we've gone under the green flag. This time by, there'll be only 2 more laps to go. Stephanie Lesting in that second group, I don't think they have a shot in you-know-what to get up here and battle these guys for the race winners. We have a little contact maybe. The 34 and the 87 as Rod Flag now jumps to the high side. He wants to take this lead back as they hit the white flag.
1 more lap to go at Daytona. It's Rod Flag at the outside. At 87 behind him. Can't quite get clear though. So Ray Rittenauer going to stay on the outside, and it is going to be Rod Flag with the push from the 7 of Wofford. They're going to go 3 wide. Contact. Your leader's going to wreck at a turn number 2. Rod Flag spins in the middle of the pack. Heavy contact with the 33. White flag is in the air. There's no caution. We're going to race it out to the start-finish line. Big championship implications as far as trying to make the cut line for the 500. The battle for the win is at it for Anderson. He'll get turned by Sean Bounty. He'll hang on, and somehow, some way, Justin Anderson, he'll hang on to Stephanie Lessentine's last moment charge. Winner.
Wow.
At iSuperDUEL number 2, and breathe.
Wow. Oh my, that was close right there with Anderson and Bounty. Bounty had the run, went to the inside, and Justin Anderson, I think, tried for the block. It was a little bit too late. They made contact. Good for both of them that they didn't spin, because that could have spelled wicked disaster for those 2 guys. But Justin Anderson's going to come home with this win, a great win for him in the duel. A great job by all those guys, and to dodge that wreck that they were right there basically in the middle of, and they came out of it unscathed and had a pretty good battle themselves coming to the checkered flag. And what a bounce back for Stephanie Lesting. It did have a shot, I don't think at all, to make it up to those top 5, and then with the trouble and with the contact, she ends up finishing second. What a great finish.
So we had the contact in 2. Rod Flag gets turned. He gets absolutely smoked. And again, there's no caution, so we still don't know where those drivers come across the start-finish line. It looks like, for the most part, everybody that took the white flag will make the top 15 cutoff. And then you mentioned Anderson, he moved up. That was basically a Brad Keselowski and Carl Edwards situation. The 34 looks high. Anderson moves up to block the outside. At a Bounty crosses him over, and the 77 came down to block a little late. The 34 kind of forced it in a spot that really wasn't a car width. I'm happy that those guys, as you mentioned, Andy, don't rack out, because, you don't have to go to any sort of post-race review amongst them. They beat and bang. The 34 comes home at a 4th, which is great news for Sean Bounty in his first start. And then the 7 going to come home at a decent spot. But I'll tell you what, Stephanie Lessentine almost stole that one. At the white flag, she was back in 6th position and quite a few seconds off. So that would have been quite the story.
Oh, absolutely it would have been. And you know what? It would have even been a better story if this was at Talladega. She would have won that thing, because the start-finish line's way at the end of pit road. So, yeah, just a different track, different time. She would have pulled out a win, but I know she's got to be pretty happy with that second-place finish.
And we'll take a moment and we'll step away, and then we'll come back and wrap up what was the iSuperDUELs at Daytona. Get you set next Friday. The place to be is right here on LSRTV for the iSuperSpeedway 500 and the official kickoff to the iSuperSpeedway.com Racing Series Season 6 Championship. We'll be back, though, for the World Center of Racing in a moment. Justin Anderson is your iSuperDUEL 2 winner.
Trucking has always been a part of me. It started years ago when my dad and granddad were hauling vegetables to market in Liverpool. The family immigrated to Canada in the late 60s and settled near Alliston, Ontario. I bought my first truck in 1982 and Mercer Trucking was born. Today, Mercer Trucking has over 50 trucks in terminals in Toronto and Los Angeles. Our storage facilities at both terminals can handle any size of distribution needs throughout North America. We service the continental U.S., including Hawaii and Alaska. We run over 120,000 miles per month and some of the best equipment on the road today. We specialize in less than truckload shipments, show freight, we do rush team service deliveries, and haul your refrigerated or heated product. Our regular team service from Canada to California is second to none, and our staff and drivers are among the best in the business. I'm proud of our people and what they can achieve. Trucking is in my blood, it's my livelihood, and it's what I do best.
And back live at the Daytona International Speedway for the LSRTV post-race show as the second weekend of competition in the iSuperSpeedway Daytona Speed Weeks draws to a close. And with that, the field is now set for the iSuperSpeedway 500, which can be viewed right here on LSRTV next Friday night following the opening race of the iSuperSpeedway Race of Champions. Season wrap it up. What was an exciting night of dual action, 40 laps in duel number 1, 40 laps in duel number 2, Andy, and I think both of them brought unique things to it, but they were both exciting.
Oh, they were both in their own little way. Both races were great. We had some great racing, great finishing. And you know what, honestly, if this is any indication of what we're going to see next week, I think the 500 is going to be just fantastic and a full field, and looking forward to that. And these races were definitely exciting. I think we'll see a little more patience early on in the race next week. Long race, 300 miles they're going to run. So it's going to be a long race, and they're going to have to show patience. Otherwise, with our finishing results of these two races here, especially this one here, only 10 cars on the lead lap at the end. If they race like this at 300 miles next week, we might have 2 cars left on the lead lap when the thing's all said and done.
And the big difference is there's a lot more laps in the iSuperSpeedway 500 than what we saw tonight. So the rate of attrition going to have to chill out a little bit if we're going to make it to the end. But the duel is always so an exciting race because you always got guys going at each other. Again, we can beat the dead horse and keep saying, just finish. But you can't tell these guys to just finish because there's a trophy on the line. Not tonight in specific, but every other week you're working at monthly champion bonus. So it means a lot to win these races. We get officially, though, underway for Season 6 of the iSuperSpeedway.com Racing Series next Friday. More importantly, LSRTV going into our third full season of coverage with the iSuperSpeedway.com Racing Series, which is always exciting, and we're looking forward to it. And we hope that you enjoyed tonight's little bit of a teaser action for the big show next Friday. Well, we do have a chase in this series, and well, that is exciting. The biggest trophy, the most important race, is the iSuperSpeedway 500, and it takes place next Friday right here in sunny Daytona Beach, Florida. So with that, we'll step away from the duels and look forward to a lot of exciting action coming up this week on LSRTV. Go to LiveSimRacing.com for more information. Our Facebook as well as Facebook.com/LiveSimRacingTV. You can find a full broadcast schedule there. And Andy, Daytona going to be a busy place because we've got some exciting action coming up this Sunday for our final forte with the Pacific Majors Championship in the 2.4 hours of Daytona. Road racing for you road fans.
Oh, yeah. Lots of action coming on this
right
weekend.
Turns.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. Right turns,
right
left
turns. I don't know.
You're going to be going all over the place. But you know what? Daytona's got a pretty cool and unique road course utilizing, some of the straightaways and the banking of the front stretch and stuff. So it'll be fun to see that race. It'll be actually my first road course broadcast at Daytona, so I'm looking forward to it, and it should be a lot of fun. And of course, the Pac Majors guys always put on a good show, and it's definitely going to be fun. We look forward to that this Sunday, and lots of stuff happening, obviously, over the next month or so. So keep it tuned right here.
LSRTV is your home for sim racing action almost every night of the week. We've got our regularly scheduled programming, like to call it. We got the RSR Icebreaker Winter Series, Outlaw Trucks, there's Hardline Racing, Upstate Racing, there's plenty, and we hope to see you then. But Pack Major is going to be fun because just last weekend on iRacing, it was the 24 Hours of Daytona. Both the 2016 Pack 4 Championship begins here on LSRTV for our final coverage of one of their races this Sunday. In preparation for our Sunday is going to be taken over soon by the Ascors Pro Geek Consulting Cup Series, which we're looking forward to. So make sure you're here at 9 o'clock Eastern on Sunday for the Pacific Majors Daytona 2.4. But until next Friday night, a big thanks to everybody at the iSuperspeedway.com Racing Series, to all the charter members as well, and to Series Administrator Rod Flagg. But on behalf of everybody at LSRTV and for the team tonight, for myself, Evan Pasoko, and on behalf of Andy Castler and LSRTV producer Cisco Scaramouche, I want to thank you for tuning in. Congratulations to our dual winners. Congrats to those that are locked in. We'll see you next Friday right here at Daytona for the iSuperspeedway.com 500 only on LSRTV, the voice of sim racing. Good night.